Hi, this is Adam Stofsky from Briefly, and I'm here with Grant and Jahner for the next video in our Inland Counties Legal Services Legal Information series. And today we're going to talk about, I'm chuckling when I say this, a favorite topic of mine, which is dealing with insurance companies and denials of insurance claims. In this case, we're going to be talking about Medi-Cal. I have had to do battle with insurance companies on numerous occasions, so I'm unfortunately somewhat acquainted with this. But Grant, I'm interested to hear about this from your perspective as a lawyer today. So thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, really pleased to be here to discuss this topic. It's really important. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, don't know what their rights are in this process. So,
Okay, so yes, so just to frame it, we're going to be talking specifically about appeals and grievances in Medi-Cal. Is that right?
right, in Medi-Cal specifically, there are many different rules depending on different programs, but I think it's most important to talk about Medi-Cal for focusing today.
Great. So tell me, we're talking about appeals and grievances. So this is in the context of when a claim is denied. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's a denial or maybe a delay or a reduction or change in benefits would be the most common time someone would file an appeal.
Okay. So talk us through how do you when you receive that denial, how do you first of all how do you know you've been denied, and then what are the first steps you take?
Yeah, so I think ideally or formally, most people would get a letter in the mail from their health plan, like their HMO or managed care plan, saying you now don't get physical therapy or you requested to see this doctor. We're denying it or this surgery because it's not medically necessary. That would be the most clear denial. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of cases where it's kind of what we call a constructive denial, where someone is, not able to access, or it's not really clear cut that they're being told yes or no, or sometimes some of the denials are over the phone, so they don't follow the formal written notice process, but they might be, find out kind of because there's so much difficulty that they can't access the care. That would be one way to be denied. Or maybe they call into customer service and the person says, no, you can't get that.
Do you ever have surprise bills in California where you suddenly get a bill for a service you weren't expecting to have to pay for? Is that part of this too?
Yeah, so one of, unfortunately, the common cases that we handle are medical bills. So people that have full Medi-Cal benefits should not get billed for services that are medically necessary. Emergency room, ambulance, doctor's visits. So this is one of the best ways to try and get the plan's attention to intervene, because sometimes you're stuck in the middle between, you have the health plan over here, you have yourself, and then you have your doctor. So where do you call to try and get help? Luckily, within California, the plans, have obligations to help out and intervene. So they could call the health plan and say, I received a bill from my podiatrist or the ambulance for some unknown reason. You don't know why it was denied or why you got the bill, but maybe it was just a misunderstanding that the ambulance didn't have your Medi-Cal ID, or something happened with the numbers of the transmission that got denied for some unknown reason. But escalating it to the plan and saying, I was billed, I'd like to file an appeal. Can you please cover this? Or I don't know why you denied my podiatry appointment. It should have been covered. Now, the plans typically have to respond within 30 days. That's the standard timeline to get a response, and usually that's in writing. People can file their appeal multiple different ways. There's usually an online portal they can do. They can write it in, email it, or call it in. Most of the clients that we help are done over the phone. So it's pretty easy to call up the member services and say, I'd like to file an appeal regarding this medical bill or this particular service.
So that's the first step. You get the denial, you get the bill. However you learn about it, then you just follow that particular plan's appeals process. Usually it's a phone call, could be a letter, something like that, or a form.
Yeah, so for urgent cases, it's supposed to be 72 hours for the plan to respond, but that's
Oh
pretty
wow.
high bar. Yeah, it's really, really fast. But that's, they kind of do what they call a triage. They evaluate, does it meet the definition of urgent? So it's like life,
Like I
limb.
need this transplant in 48 hours, like really emergency.
Exactly, yes. You're going to, extreme pain. Yeah, something like that. You need, transplant. You need, dialysis. You can't wait 30 days because that would be extremely detrimental to your health, even though that is a very fast timeline to get 30 days, especially in, for the law, it's pretty quick. But yeah, so you can, we always advise clients to explain and, explain what's going on. Why do you want it to be urgent? And then the plan has to determine if it's not. Otherwise, you're right, 30 days. Now, plan then issues a response. They either agree with you and they approve the benefits, they cover the bill, or they might uphold or still stick by their original decision to deny the services. And then there's a second level appeal process. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people that don't go to that next level of appeals, which is with the Department of Managed Healthcare as the administrative agency. So that's really where we see a lot more success. It's always a great idea to start with the plan, and then take that next step to file with the Department of Managed Healthcare. So those have to be done in writing, again, fax, mail, or online. Unfortunately, those ones don't go over the phone, but it's pretty easy to follow a form online and submit it. And then the plan or Department of Managed Healthcare does their evaluation and oversight to make sure that the health plan is following all the right rules. So for certain things, they also have what they call an independent medical review within Department of Managed Healthcare. And that's where they actually have independent doctors not associated with the plan determine, is this service or treatment medically necessary? So they'll have, if it's a pediatric service, they'll actually have pediatric specialists outside the plan evaluate based on, medical journals and things like that. Should the plan cover this? Should they give you this prescription, this surgery, this, wheelchair, whatever the benefit might be, this is the venue. And this is the best way that we have our clients escalate and make sure that they're, having their case, because some people just keep filing appeals with the plan and getting the same response, but then not escalating it to the state and getting that next level.
So you have to appeal before you can go. You have to do the insurance company's appeal before you can go to the state. We have to do that first, right?
In almost every situation, there is a very small, carve out or exception similar to the 72 hours, but it has to be an immediate threat to life, and then you could go straight to the Department of Managed Healthcare. And again, this is in our counties. California has a lot of different counties, but in our counties, there's oversight from the Department of Managed Healthcare. Some counties in California don't have that, so it's really important to kind of know. So Riverside and San Bernardino in particular do have this Department of Managed Care oversight. And then additionally, the only other exception to go straight to the Department of Managed Healthcare and skip your plan is if the services are, quote, experimental.
Oh, was that like a clinical trial or something like that?
Yeah, so I think it's maybe not quite approved for what
for that illness or
for that
something
illness,
like that.
exactly. Yeah, it's pretty rare for us to see those in particular. Yeah.
I have a couple more questions on this, I think, before we wrap up. So one is, I understand calling up the insurance company and saying, "Hey, I think this was wrong. This should be covered." But this second appeal, the appeal to the state, can you do that without a lawyer or like a help from another doctor to write all the things you need to write? Is it the kind of thing you can do on your own if you need to?
Yeah, it is a really informal process. Within the online format, there's a small text box. You can explain what's going on, explain what you're requesting. You don't have to have an attorney explain all of this. The state, does their evaluation to try and determine, and look at it from kind of, the consumer, like the patient's perspective on what's going on. So you don't have to have an attorney to do this. It is pretty informal. And then they issue a written response either via email or in writing, what their decision is to either grant your request or, they may side with the health plan, but we do see a large percent of these are actually found in favor of the patients after they filed with the Department of Managed Healthcare. So this is a good opportunity for people to, not just kind of accept what the health plan has done the first time.
Yeah, that was my next question. Actually, is how likely is it to succeed? Is this like, hey, I got a 10% chance, or is it a 75%? I'm just curious, like how often are these successful?
Yeah, I think the state Department of Managed Healthcare's last statistic was about 68% of these are found in favor of the patient after filing. So it is definitely not a lost cause. I think there should be some hope to try and get this escalated and get some attention paid. Not every time, but I definitely think it's worth an opportunity. And we usually take this step for our clients to make sure that they're getting all of their rights decided.
Yeah, far from a lost cause.
Yeah.
70% almost is that's pretty good.
Yeah. So the Department of Managed Healthcare also has a pretty quick response. They do have an urgent threshold as well, which is usually about 5 to 7 days for their appeals. And then their typical response is about 30 to 45 days for most of theirs. So again, could be about 60 days to get a response and get a bill resolved or get a treatment or go to see a doctor maybe that's out of network. A lot of opportunities for people to try and explore and enforce their rights to get the care that they need.
Great. All right, well, how can Inland County's legal services help?
Yeah, our program provides free legal services to residents of Riverside and San Bernardino County. They can call us, we can advise them on the right process, try and help them explore what step they're in, which, do they qualify for the urgent or do they file with Department of Managed Healthcare, and just exploring what options they have and helping enforce their access to important life-saving healthcare.
Great. All right, Grant, thanks so much.
Thank you.